Hey guys, this is Avkash again, and in this presentation we are going to see HDInsight thoroughly. We will try to look different functionality within the HDInsight and pretty much total walkthrough using different components, setting configuration within the HDInsight. I already have another YouTube video where you could see how to download and install HDInsight on a Windows 8 machine. And if you have gone through that, then this video will be very useful for you. So you see here, I already have HDInsight, and at this point, HDInsight command line is there, and I will just run Hadoop version. So you see that Hadoop 1.1.0 is actually running in this machine, and here is the HDInsight dashboard. I would launch it, and once this application is started running, and I will close these different, okay, I will close this one. So this is what the introduction about HDInsight getting started or learning. So I would be using this for a sample. So you see here that at this point I have this HDInsight cluster running in my machine, and here are a few functionalities available. And if you remember, I have started this just by using the desktop shortcut. Here is getting started. So here is the getting started, which is already available on Hadoop on Azure as a learning channel. But here what you are really seeing, the getting started, is actually going to launch pretty much similar things. So let's try to use it and getting started with Hadoop. So that's why you see, so the link is already available within the Insight. To close this window, so this is what is available, and here we could see a couple of other things. So let's start using interactive console, which is here. I have interactive JavaScript or interactive console is running. I can use help with parentheses to see the list of commands. Here various commands are available which you can use, and some of the HDFS commands you can execute just by using hash. So for example, if I'm using hash here, ls is really giving the list of directories here. So you see directories and files. Okay, if you would want to make a directory, mkdir, okay, and we can say make a directory called test Hadoop, and if we use ls, here the directory, you can actually use up and down arrow to see the previous commands. And there are several other things you could do here, and while in our introduction we will be going further, but this is just to start with. And you see here that this whole thing is running at port 8085. So you might wonder that how Hadoop is really running on Windows machines. And in order to further look into, let's try to look for services, and actually something called settings, services, services, settings, and view local services. And you see here at the very top we have these Apache Hadoop data nodes. So these are the services running in the local system with the Hadoop user context. So these are the different services which are running, and if you see here, there is an Isotope.js. So Apache Hadoop Isotope.js is the actual service which is performing all those actions when we are running these JavaScript or HDFS related commands on interactive console. Once we pass through that, and there is a like name node service, that's where you can actually, if you stop the, if for example if we stop this service, this service, then we will not be able to perform interactive console commands. Similar to a bunch of other things are available. So that's the way these are different services running in Windows machine to support various operations related with Apache Hadoop. Okay, once we are here, and what we could look into that, we can come back, and here was our cluster, and we can look that, okay, so here is the MapReduce status. So you see that as at this point there is no job is running, and Currently this is a one node cluster, so that's what you are really seeing here. This is the one node, and this is a Windows 8 virtual box. That's the local IP address. That's where everything is running, what you are really seeing here. Okay, if I will add a couple of more machines, you will be seeing that how many nodes are here. Then once clicking here, you will be able to see more and more nodes. You can come back. So that's what we saw in Hadoop. Now we will look into Hadoop name node status here. So name node, here is the file system, here are the logs and the information about the total capacity in this virtual machine what I have and what is used, and EFS remaining. Okay, file system, we can look into the file system. Here you see that user, and if we go into that's the Hadoop, okay, and then after Hadoop, here is the two folders we have created. So if we remember when we were here and we created, for example, okay, dir new folder, and if we come here, refresh it, that new folder should be show up here. That's what you are really going through with the different. Now there is, if you have some content and you would want to copy to HDFS, okay, and that content is available on local machine. So for example, we have very simple, what we did, we created a new text document. Here we can say list.txt, okay, and here we just created a very simple list where we can say that, okay, iOS, we can say Android, BlackBerry, Windows Phone, Bada, we can also say Symbian, and we can say others, and we can just give up very simple number, okay, about, okay, one tab, and just this is a 40 Android, 40 BlackBerry, 10 Windows Phone, 8 Bada, 2 Symbian, 10 others, 5. Okay, and let's try to put together these two. So 10, 20, 10, 15, or just an example. Okay, okay, we can save it. Now we really need to upload this, so we remember we can come back to our console. Here you have command something called fs.put, and you see it opens a dialog box where you can select what what content you would want. You can go desktop. Here is our list.txt, and where we just say that just destination is root, uploaded is available. Now we can run here, and you see here that list.txt, oh, txt.txt is available here. That's where, okay, so that's, you see the command you have used. And if you would want to see the content, you can say, okay, let's try. So list dot txt and is available. So you see here that we right now we are everything here. That's where you could see here, and so multiple commands are available which you could use here in order to get in order to do your regular work, not even being able to go to the console. You can just use this web interface and you would be able to do it. Now if we would like to rename this list.txt.txt, we can say mv list.txt, make it list.txt, and that's where we have. And if you really need to copy it, its content to some other file, we can say copy list.txt to list new.txt, and here we have it. We can also use text command to list new, and you can see the command tab is also working here. And if you would want to copy this content from like multiples of these contents, right now we have 2 files, so we can say copy list and list new to, we are sending to new folder, and the content will be copied here. So you could look into the content in particular. So we can say, okay, give the ls, and we can say user Hadoop and new folder, and that is what we are seeing inside. So that's you could do within the interactive. Now what we could do, we can go to console, and launch the Hadoop console here, and here you see that uh, we are in console, and then let's see Hadoop, the Hadoop, and here we can say fs ls, and here you can see that it shows that there are no content. And similar to that, if we say okay, show the root, and here you see that it shows that there are HDFS, MapRed, user, and then multiples of different files. So if you remember that, uh, if we go to desktop, we could see that we have the Hadoop MapReduce status and name node status. Here we have file system. We can look into the file. Here you see that there are multiples of files are available here, and what you could see here at the same time, you can actually look into the content within the, for example, user Hadoop, as we know, and it's going to show what we are releasing here, user Hadoop, and that's what you are releasing here, user Hadoop. Okay, so what else we could do? And because now we can go and look into about configuration with regard to this cluster. So if we come here and we have this Hadoop snapshot, and there is a folder called conf and a few, opening it, first we will look into the, okay, so you see HDFS site, MapReduce site, and the code site. So these are the three configuration contents. So you see here that it's HDFS localhost 8020, where the DFS default file system is there. Okay, and this is the checkpoint directory, and uh, that's the HDFS temp dir. When we run a MapReduce command, you can see that content is really being, this particular folder is used here. Now we look HDFS site, and it's really saying that okay, that's the name node address. Okay, configuration, that's the place DFS is really going to start. So if you really look at the HDFS site, we can come here and we can say okay, let's see what is available here, and exactly see 50070, what we were looking into here is exactly the name node location, and here we can look into the file system. Okay, so you see here that it's a data node HTTP address 50075. This is what we are really looking to, 50075. So okay, I think that was the different folder here. Okay, and what else is here? Secondary address of secondary name node web server. So secondary name node web server is also because first name node and secondary just for uh, high availability, and that is available on 50090. So you can look into these different you can look in the configuration for how the cluster is really being set up. And now we will look into the MapReduce, and where it's really said that okay, it's available at 50030, and if we look into here, we run it, and oh okay, so I think the way it is 50, so it's a job tracker, and it actually should be there 50030, because that's where the job tracker will be available only when we are running some job. Right now we do not have any job running. That's where you see, and this is just shows that if there was a job submission. So I had tested a few of them, so that's why we are seeing here, and that's the configuration related with MapReduce. Okay, and so we have looked a few configuration content. Now we will try to run some job and see and learn more. So let's go ahead and close these tabs, and that's where our Java script console was. And here we are. Here is hello world. So let's try to run some. And here you see that there are various samples of labels. So we'll try to load some data. And here is the PowerShell script which we can use in the console. And here we can say clear, and we can go to getting started. And here a few content of labels. So here you see that the command is to, so we can use PowerShell, and then we will say execution policy unrestricted, and then import data.ps1 and w3c. And when we are running that command, it's going to download, it's actually going to create various kinds of data and in this cluster. So let it run. Here we have everything, all that data is imported. We can go W3C look into. Now you see that we have data which shows that about half gig here and about quarter gig here and about 1 meg here, and we have three different sizes of data. And if you would just want to look into, see, we can look into the lowest one, data, large, medium, small. Here we have content, just to take a look. So we have date, timestamp, then we have IP address, date, time, this is username, and then IP. Okay, here empty IP, port, method, URI, and a couple of things. So it's good that we have about X amount of data to look into. Now we can come here, we have loaded our data. The next step is run MapReduce job. So here you see that there is already run sample PS1, and we can look into, dig and figure it out what is this data. Use the content from W3C and use the smaller data content model, use the Java, okay, and then calculate this. So this is the function. So total hits. So this is what is really defined here, and there are different sources related with this functionality. Okay, so what we will do, we will just use the same command here. So we were there. So we had PowerShell execution policy and restricted, and then we really need to run the here. So we are saying that app run sample PS1 W3C, run the small because it will take less time, will happen quickly. We're gonna use Java and then TOTAL, total hits. Job is started. Run samples, policies. Okay, once this thing is started, okay, at least, yeah, you see that job is started here. Now what we could do, we can come and MapReduce status. Okay, we can look into their running job. Okay, it's already 2, so we really need to see if there is like current running job. We can refresh this content. Total submission 3, it means third showed up. So okay, let's see, I'm just waiting for the job. Okay, here you see that job number 3 showed up. This is what our job is. We can look into, here is the configuration related with job, and lots of content available here to dig further. But before we really go into, here the job, in what phase is it right now, is map phase completed. Okay, these two MapReduce. So you see here that M00000 and M0000001 is here. That's the counter. You can look into the content. Okay, to further dig here, okay, which machine, because right now everything all happened on same machine because a single node cluster. But if you have a multi-node cluster, you will be able to track that as well. Okay, looks like we can refresh it. Okay, map and reduce both have completed here, and you see here that result is out. We have some statistics out here, and at the last we do have this data available here. Here you can see that map completion graph as well as the reduce completion graph, the distribution between copy, sort, and reduce. We can go back to job tracker. Here completed job number 1, 2, and 3 are part of the log. Now you can dig further, and if we look into the file system, and within the file system, here you see that we have HDFS. Look into HDFS, temp, MapReduce, staging, hash, staging. Okay, there is okay, here are the logs related with. So 1, 2, 3, that's the job, we just executed it. There's the configuration with related to that job. That's what we have seen in that job conf XML. Okay, and we can go to HDFS. We can go to root and MapReduce history. completed version 1, localhost 23rd 3. Okay, here is the 000, and here you could see a little more content about the the jobs which we have processed so far. And then if you look into the, if we look, we can come back here and see MapReduce status and look into here, and based on that we will be able to understand that. Okay, so you see here one says, it shows here 201044, that's why you are really matching 044, and then depend on here, so 1 2 3 our information. This is the job, this is what you are looking into the for information. I'm gonna go one more level back. Let's go back to the root. Okay, now we can come back to W3C folder. That was our input, and here you see that input and out, there are two folders. Result will be in out folder. Here we see we have out, and here you could see that logs related with our job, and here is the part 0001, and depend on a result size there could be multiples of these parts, but we can look into here, and here is exactly what you have seen with the results here. So these are the three different top file where default.aspx, info.aspx, and user service, and then total number of hits what you are seeing. So that's the total result you have seen. Total output record is 5643. If you combine them, that will show up 5643 here. So that what, based on in our work, that what we have executed Java MapReduce job. You can actually launch a .NET MapReduce job as well, and the simplicity is really very simple, because here in same example we can actually say C# and perform the total hits. It's really, and now you would see that this is what the Hadoop streaming comes in picture, and it's loading the DLLs related with a MapReduce. Here you see that there is an exe where you could see that it's using the reduce driver. So that's all what you are seeing on Windows machines using .NET, and here Win HDFS managed DLL is used. So there are several configuration which is used to run this job, which is a C# base, and the execution will be pretty much same as what we have seen for Java jobs. So let it run, and we will see when it's completed. Here you see that job is completed, and pretty much exact same results we are getting from this C# MapReduce job using Hadoop streaming. Now if you really need to look more that how this job was just started, so you see here that it's just a PowerShell, and we are using run samples.ps1. So we can go and look into the getting started run samples.ps1. We can use edit, and here you could see that most of this is the default scenarios are defined, and I will just go, you see here that size map w3 out, so that's where the location, that's what you see, w3c/out, where the output folder was. Okay, and depend on what language you are going to choose, for example C#, Java, or kind of Hive or Pig. You see here, that's why the configuration being set, function to call Hadoop. And once that's all is done, so if you see here that in case of Hive, but we ran C#, so it was our environment, and here you see that it's really calling the MapReduce runner, and that's where it's setting w3c out /part 000. You see here, and the results are executed. So that's what you have seen in here when we were looking into w3c out part 000. So all that configuration was being configured here. Okay, we can close it. Now next we can go back. So we have run MapReduce job. We can actually use the run Pig job, and you see here that is actually going to run the Pig job. And if you would want to Hive, that's what you are really going to Hive. And here you can, and for your example, you can actually change these total hits, and you can change it with other, like average time taken and a couple of other things related with this. Okay, and here's the jump start guide. Is a zipped content. If you see here, you can download it, open it, and that will be that will help you. Okay, so these are the three job types: total hits, average time, and errors you could run, and these are the different ways you could have done it. One thing to remember, if you are using for example Windows 8, the path was already set, but if you are getting an error, you could have set this path, so execution will be done running that mr runner, etc. And there are a couple of things that if you really need to check the, for example, we can go back here, and when we are here, next we will try to run a Pig job here. So we'll do Hadoop. First we copy the data which is available from here in a W3C folder, so Hadoop FS, and we will say copy from local, and we will have C colon Hadoop colon getting started W3C, and then we will use the small data here, and we will try to copy it user Apache, and we will say small.txt. And once this data is, we can verify it because we have, so we can say Hadoop fs ls user Apache, and it's going to tell the small.txt is actually available here, small.txt. Okay, once we have that, we can launch the pig, get the pig shell. Okay, and we can also use pig fs ls, and we can see that is null here. So if we would want to see here, we can run, so we can say a equals to load, and we can use small.txt. There you go, a is loaded. We can say b equals to and we are going to limit, so limit a and 10. So we just want to see the 10 records. Jump b, and as the MapReduce job will be started, and I will just expedite it really very quickly just to see that 10 records here. Okay, so as you can see here, I first top 10 lines within this data W3 small is dumped here. So it's just an example how you could use Pig, and you can actually load these scripts here. So for example, when we were looking into ls here, and there is a total Pig, so you can look into say fs cat total total dot pig, and that's you really see here. And input, if we can define input here, and input could be the small, for example here load. Okay, and we can change this, we can edit this total dot pig, and we can pass this small.txt here, and it will be able to tell the results for us. So that's one way you could run this sample here. So that was an example of using Pig. Same thing, ls quit from here. Okay, and once we could, now what is released, I already showed you, and .NET SDK for Hadoop is also available here. You can download a NuGet package, and if you are using Visual Studio, you can compile it. And that's all I really have to show here, because there is tons of things, but just to get you started, I think it's a good walkthrough. And in my new videos, I will be talking more about HDInsight as well. Thank you so much for your time, and hope you had learned something.